On behalf of the Rabbinical Assembly and the Committee on Jewish Law and Standards, I welcome you to the International Seminar for Halakhic Study 5782. My name is Rabbi Nate Crane. I'm the rabbi of Beth Hillel B'nai Emunah in Wilmette, Illinois, and have been a member of the Committee on Jewish Law and Standards for 2 years. The committee is a group of 25 rabbis who are voting members appointed by the various arms of the conservative movement. There are also 5 non-voting lay representatives of the United Synagogue and 1 non-voting cantor representing the Cantors Assembly. We meet to consider questions of Halacha, that is, questions of Jewish law and behavior that are addressed to us by our colleagues. These may be questions regarding Shabbat, kashrut observance, synagogue practice, rituals, new technological developments, or personal status that impact Jewish practice and life. What is common to all of them is that they are new dilemmas and can benefit from careful consideration by the group. Each she'elah, each question, is tackled first by a single author whose answer, formerly known as a responsum or tshuva, is considered and revised by the committee as a whole, until at least 6 members of the committee can agree on a proposed answer. Sometimes we do not agree, and in that case, we issue 2 or more different suggestions. Today, we would like you to shadow us on our deliberations on one such issue that came before the committee. The tshuva we'll be studying today is titled Adoption. We'll begin our study at the earliest stages of this project with a personal narrative. While I was in rabbinical school, my wife Rachel and I searched for the perfect ketubah, anticipating our upcoming wedding. I had this sincere and growing concern that I wasn't entirely sure how my Hebrew name would appear on the document. I was adopted at a later age by my stepfather, and I found myself asking if my Hebrew name ought to include my adoptive father's Hebrew name. I wanted to honor my stepfather's love and support, and being his son was and is an intrinsic part of my identity. If I were to not include his name on my ketubah, my rabbinical ordination certificate, or the documents I would sign in the future, that would mean that these documents did not truly reflect my identity. So I approached Rabbi Elliot Dorff, to whom I explained the circumstances and my concerns. Together we recognized that there was a void. There was yet to be a formal tshuva that argued the ways in which Jewish adoption was in accordance with the tradition, and neither was there a method by which we were to record and ritualize the adoption of a child. The lack of Jewish adoption procedures could be attributed to the fact that adoption was new to Judaism in its current form. Additionally, our current status developed by a type of historic happenstance. So the question was, is there Halakhic and textual precedent to argue that Jewish adopted children are considered equal in status and familial obligations to biological children? In other words, in terms of Jewish law, are adopted children and biological children equal? Or is there something distinct about the adoptive parent-child relationship that would make it halakhically distinguishable from a biological relationship? With Rabbi Dorff's guidance and encouragement, I began authoring this project, ultimately leading to its vote in 2018. Today you will explore, just as we did, the topic of adoption through the lens of Halacha, utilizing a text sheet thoughtfully prepared by Rabbi Ilana Garber, ultimately seeking to answer this she'elah, this question. Can an adopted child be considered equal in familial obligations and halakhic status to that of a biological child? families are more diverse, and a significant number of Jewish families experience growth through this sacred act of adoption. We are addressing Jewish adoption in terms of Halacha. Concurrently, we address Jewish adoption in terms of love, relationships, and the holy act of building and strengthening familial relationships. So we seek to answer these questions, such as, how do we honor and celebrate our sacred familial relationships? What does it mean to be a parent? And what does it mean to be a parent's child? And how does Jewish law strengthen our relationships? In the tshuva itself, you will hear echoes of adoptive parents and adopted children's voices, with whom I partnered throughout the writing process, to best illustrate conceptually and linguistically the needs of the current and future community. To address the halakhic consequences of adoption, we must assess the history of adoption and the parental and filial duties to which adoptive parents and adopted children are equally obligated. We will trace our questions and arguments through thousands of years of our tradition, beginning with an example from the Bible, that of the story of Esther and her adoptive parent, Mordechai. We read in the book of Esther, when the turn came for Esther, daughter of Avichail, uncle of Mordechai, who had adopted her as his own daughter, to go to the king, she did not ask for anything. And we'll study this powerful text from the Talmud. Whoever brings up an orphan in his home, Scripture ascribes it to him as though he had begotten him. And then we will continue to explore Jewish adoption utilizing texts from generations of rabbinic thought leaders. There will be voices of opposition to adoption in its current form, and we must address those opposing arguments as well. However, please know that this paper in no way and at no point in time calls into question or compromises the halakhic status of adopted children. This tshuva seeks to accomplish just the opposite. Once you have explored this responsum, you will ultimately answer these questions. Which decision is most in line with prior precedent? Which decision is most desirable in terms of the needs of the current and future community? And which is most defensible as a statement of our values? We hope you will find the study rich and enriching, and that you will enjoy doing just as the CJLS does, discussing, studying, and voting. Shalom.